to the Posh Podcast. I'm so happy to be here. Before we started recording, we had said this is like the fourth time's a charm. We had to schedule and reschedule. Things kept popping up. And so I'm so excited that we finally get to be here face to face together, Toni. Thanks for being here.
I'm so excited to do this, and to see all the people coming in is fun. And I have watched your other podcasts, and it's great. I was saying before, you guys, that Lisa has really just been an amazing collaborator in building community. And this is a really fun, neat platform to get to know each other and to share and to learn. So I love that.
You as well are such a huge piece of the Poshmark puzzle of having collaboration and community. You bring that into your shows. You always have fun themes of your shows, especially your Tuesday morning shows, and you are the successful conductor of not just one but two trains who you do such a good job of bringing in new and fresh faces. And so why don't we start there, is that we know you as Toni, middle sister without the R, and we know you on screen. We know your statement glasses, we know you love your hats, we know you love your graphics on your shirts. So I tried to do a little bit for you today. But let us know, who is Toni outside of Poshmark, outside of Toni, middle sister?
I literally wrote down, I started with, well, there's so many things I love, but you guys know I love a messy bun and a ponytail and a hat. You rarely see my hair down. I do need a color right now, but I do love that. I love to dress comfy, and we'll talk about that in my shows, like what I like to, when we talk about my shows and what I like to sell. But I really do. I love to travel. I started traveling a little bit more growing up. My parents didn't get to travel as much, so we did a lot of camping and things that we could drive to. So as an adult, I feel so fortunate I've been able to travel to a lot of places in Europe. And I really, really love traveling. I feel like my first trip, I don't know, Gus was 9, so I was like 45. I went to Italy. It changed my life. I just love traveling. I love all sports. You guys know that. My biggest ones are tennis, and I love to ski, but I'll play just about anything. And I love movies and shopping, and I love games. You'll see sometimes I do that in my shows too. I love to play games. But more importantly, I think it's good to know that I really am kind of a sensitive, sentimental gal, and I always have been. Maybe that's the middle sister in me. I don't know, but and I love a good sense of humor, and I wonder if humor has always just been with me through the good times and the bad times. And I love a good sense of humor, and most important to me are my relationships. And so I was thinking about when you said who I am, and those relationships are really my foundation. Of course, I was a daughter. So I'm kind of going to go through. I won't bore you. Many of you know, but my parents were amazing. They were really young parents. They had my older sister, Dina, who's 2 years older, at 17 and 19, and they were married for over 50 years. And then they had me. And then 5 years later came the baby sister, Cindy Brady, JJ Berkeley. But they really came really from not much. And my dad was quite a success story. And he was such a good girl dad, such a good girl dad. They really taught us to care about each other and care about others. We always felt loved. We always felt seen. We always felt safe. And then my next relationship, I would say, was being a sister, right? I'm the middle sister. And we were always close, all of us, even with the age difference. But I think when my parents passed unexpectedly, they passed 2 years apart, we became even closer. And I don't even think we knew we could become closer, but we kind of became like each other's parents. Like, we don't miss anything for our kids. We're together for every holiday, for every vacation. And so my sisters are very, very important to me. And then I would say I learned to be a friend. And I feel like I'm a really good friend. And I love hard. I love big. New and old friends. Ironically, I have met so many new friends on here, and I honestly think they'll be friends if I don't stay with Posh or I do stay with Posh. My friendships are important to me. And then I have a group of childhood friends that have known me since 10. I've actually met friends along my life journey. I lived in Colorado for a little bit, and I'll talk about that a little bit. But my friends are really important to me, and they're like my ride or die. And I love friends who knew me when I was young, who knew my parents. And I love new friends who know me now and get to know me now. So that's really important to me. And then I was a wife and an ex-wife. So I dated, it was my college boyfriend. Many of you know his name and who he is. I talk about him. We dated for almost 11 years and we were married 22. So I was with him from the time, I tell Gus, I was younger than Gus. And so we kind of grew up together, but we kind of grew apart. And that was probably the hardest decision I ever made, was to leave my marriage, but it was the most courageous and the most liberating. And I talked about this a little bit, just loving yourself. I think I lost myself. I think he did too. And he would have kept going. I'm working really hard on trying to be friends, and I'll get him there. I think we're making progress. I would like us to have our own kind of divorce. He came from a lot of divorce, and I think it's really important for Gus, which leads me to Gus. I wanted to be a mom. I didn't know I wanted to be a mom, but we decided. I had Gus late. Actually went through fertility. I only have Gus. He'll be 23, and if you ask me what I love most in the world, he will always be my answer. I love Gus. He's just an amazing human being. He's kind. He's compassionate. He's funny as well. And he's a sport lover. He's a good mix of Jeff and I. He truly is. So that's me in a nutshell. When I dated Jeff, we went all over. We lived in Ohio. We lived in Colorado. We lived in Cincinnati. We lived and then in Chicago, which is where we spent all of our married life, was in Chicago. So I really do want to say that while there were so many good memories, but good marriage ends in divorce. So I knew that it was time to go. So, but I'm gonna work on that relationship for the rest of my life because of Gus. So that's me.
I appreciate you being vulnerable. I know sometimes those pieces of ourselves are hard to share. Loss is really hard. Divorces can sometimes be looked at as a failure. That's really hard. But I took away from that the people who we choose to forge relationships with really shape us. And what a huge responsibility in us that if we are choosing to give energy to someone else, that we are shaping them as well. And I love that you had so much positivity. The relationship with your parents was positive. The relationship with your sisters was positive. It sounds like you're very selective about the friends who give and you receive from in your life. And it sounds like you had a lot of good come out of that marriage too. But I agree with you. The number one thing you need to do in life is love yourself, because that's the only relationship that you truly have 24/7 for all the days. And so I love to hear that while people are affecting you, that you're making sure that you are whole.
It's so important
first. So thank you for
to
sharing
love
all
yourself
that.
first, and then everything else falls in place. And it really has taught me that. It's only been 4 years, but I've learned a lot in 4 years. And I'll talk about Posh and how that kind of helped me as well.
So I know just from knowing you that you were a teacher in a previous life. And so tell us how you went from, high school sweethearts, moving around, having Gus, and then finding your way onto Poshmark and becoming the infamous Toni middle sister.
Yes, I was a teacher. I taught, I was in elementary education, and then I went back to school and did my master's in special education. And that was my real love. And I lived out in Colorado, and I came back home, and Jenny was just graduating from special ed, and she's like, you should go back and do that as well. So I got a job in Kentucky and went back to do my master's. I love teaching. I love the kids. I was always like 5th through 8th grade. Interestingly, educators, I just feel like, are amazing. Educators, we really are touching lives, and it's really important. And again, it's all about the relationships. So I did that. And then when I got married, I taught in Chicago, and then we moved to Wilmette, which is where Gus went to school. And I got a job in Wilmette, and I was there for 24 years, and I retired in 2024. But before retiring, Jenny always did Posh. She always did just like her closet, and she was always selling from Posh. And I dipped in that a little bit, like maybe 10 years ago. And then I'm like, oh, I don't know if I like this. And I still don't love to list, which is hilarious. Everyone's like, Jenny Be Kind's like, your closet's kind of sad. I'm like, I know it is kind of sad, which I love. And then I asked CZ Blitzky, I'm like, will you be my accountability partner? And she just texted me the other day. She goes, I listed 9 items today. How many of you listed? I'm like, okay, I'm going to list. I'm going to list this week. I'm going to list this week. So I will do it this week. But anyway, I think one night I was just on Posh. I probably was searching for something that I was looking for. And I saw the live shows. So, but it said then, it doesn't seem like they still were taking applicants, but you really had to apply and you had to wait. And so I said to Jenny, well, you have been doing this forever and you have, I mean, hundreds. She has so many followers on her Posh account. So she applied and she got asked to do a live show. So at the time I was living in Chicago, so I drove here and we did a live show together. I mean, it was a hoot. We had so much fun. I think we had 7 people and we loved it. And we sold things and we just laughed after. And I was on the computer and she was on the phone. I'm like, you got to keep doing this. You got to keep doing this. So I would get on the computer back in Chicago and she would do it in Kentucky. And then finally, I think they reached out because I was doing it so much, like moderating. They're like, do you want to do a show? So I started doing shows and I love shopping and I always loved thrifting. So I started thrifting, and honestly, I don't know why I have Toni middle sister, but you all know, if you know me, I'm a horrible texter. So I didn't really mean to leave the R off. I just did. And I put the R on Instagram though. But I was like, oh, what can I identify? Toni middle sister. And so I started doing lives and same thing, very slow. And that's why these people that are on that keep going on, I mean, kudos to them because that's how you build and that's how it works. Consistency, being on as much as you can be on or as little as you want to be on. But I just started and I kind of grew this little group of people who I'm still friends with. I mean, Teresa, I know Teresa is working so hard at that as well. And I've really met some of the first people that shopped with me. They're still my friends. A little shout out, Kristen K. Love, Plain Princess, Just Joe Fit. They would come to my shows and they just got to know me. And I was like, wow. And then we started messaging. I'm like, I like this. And I liked shopping and I liked thrifting. And I just kept doing it part time. And then when I moved here, I was retired. So it'll be a year in March that one of my friends on here, one of my shoppers, there's Kristen, Plain Princess, said, you should just pick a day and just do that day. And I'm like, she goes, just because then everyone knows that's when your day is. I'm like, okay, I have the time. I'm settled here now. I've made the move. So I picked Tuesday morning. I don't know why. Tuesday mornings at 8 a.m. And I've been doing that consistently for a year. I even get on when I'm on vacation. And if I can give any advice to anybody, that would be the biggest advice. It's just keep pushing through. If you have 9 or you have 90, like be consistent. You're going to make sales. And I mean, honestly, that was from a shopper who suggested that I do that. And I can't say that enough, just consistency. Of course, doing trains and things like that get you more exposure, but the consistency when people know you're going to be on is really important. I mean, I can talk more, but that is how I really got started. And then how I've really grown is truly by the consistency and the relationships and the connections. I thought of all these C words and I'm like, I'm going to use the C word today to say, what's been really successful for me. Consistency.
So
I think connections are really big. Like I feel like the people that come into my shows or the fellow sellers that I've met, making those connections and consistency have really helped me to kind of move maybe just I mean, I'm not like just move to a little bit different level than, versus I mean, I like if I have 10 shoppers, honestly, or I have 80 shoppers because truly sometimes those 10 shoppers are just shopping you up and loving everything that you have. But I would say consistency and my connections. And then I would say as you move along, just having the confidence to get on, to do it, that it's okay to get on. And if you don't have a good show, you don't have a good show. You just reflect on it. That's happened before. I've talked to fellow poshers and even my fellow shoppers, like, what do you think about that show was? And then you really just reflect on it. You can even write about it in your little new journal book. And then you look back and you say, hi, Misty. And then you just say, okay, that was different. So I would say consistency, connections, having confidence, even if it wasn't good, to get back on and do it again. Especially on the days that you've decided you're going to do it. Like you, Lisa, you're on Mondays and Thursdays. I know you're going to be on Mondays and Thursdays. I mean, there are so many shows that I know when they're going to be on, and I really do know when those shows are going to be on. And I feel like there's a connection with this too. So I want to support you. I want to be there. I think two things that have happened with the train. So Jenny and I were like, we can do a train when we were first starting. We can do this. So we picked people that we knew. That we went to Posh Fest the very first year. We were really new. We went to Nashville and we met a few people and we're like, we're going to ask them to do our trains with us. So they did. And they did trains with us. And we just moved along. And we're like, we can do this. We loved it. And then I said to Jenny, let's just start a train. We keep reinventing the wheel. I'm just going to start something. And she's like, great idea. And she's very busy. So I'm like, I'll kind of take the reins. But I feel like in our trains, what's really important to us is that collaboration and that community. Is that when we do a train, we're really there for the people that we've asked to be in the train. And we really want to promote them. That's the point of it. It's a hard work for all the people who do trains and organize trains. It's a lot of work, just scheduling, getting them in place, and then making sure that they feel supported throughout the day. I mean, I know, Lisa, on the morning train, you were on the Love train on Monday. Lisa was on there all day long. Like, that is just a commitment. And I know we do that in our jobs, and I know that's part of the job, but I really think that's really important, is that when you're in a train, that you build that community and you collaborate. And it doesn't mean just going on to the train and selling. It means being there for your fellow train members and hyping them up and sharing it out. And getting everybody's live. Everybody wants more on their live listing. So it's getting everybody hearts and likes. And that, to me, so that's another one. So community and collaboration, those are both C's. And then the last two I thought about was competition and comparison. So I thought about this, and I always tell Gus, because social media does this, like, comparison and competition can be the thief of joy if you put it in a negative way. So if you're constantly comparing yourself to what someone else is doing, that doesn't mean don't look at what's out there, don't look at what's working. Have conversations with people. I do, with people I trust. What do you think is working? But I think the competition and the comparison has to be with yourself. So, like, what did you do? What did you do today that you would like to do better? Like, compare one show to the last show. Like, is it sales? Is it I didn't go fast enough? I didn't have the right price point. Oh, I need more of this brand. Because I think if we get too caught up because I can do it too. Like, if you get so caught up, am I doing enough? Am I doing enough? Or they're doing this, and you're watching, you just do. I think it's natural. I just take a minute and I'm just like, I just have to do this, compare against myself, compete about my last show. What do I want to do? And I just think that's really important, to make sure you don't get too caught up in that.
It does. It absolutely makes sense, especially on those last 2 points. You're correct. Comparison is the thief of joy, because there's always going to be someone bigger, better, doing more. It's just, no matter who you are, even if you're Jeff Bezos, somebody is still better, even if you're Elon Musk. And so that's a key piece of advice, is compare yourself to who you were yesterday, compare yourself to your previous show, so that way you are learning and growing. And it also gives you data and documentation of, like, oh yeah, I had 2 people and now I had 4, or I had 4 people and now I have 8. So, to kind of recap there from the beginning, I heard that even you and Jenny in that first show, like you had the confidence to just get started, but also being there to support each other, you showed confidence in front of the camera, which I think is great. And so now that you're in front of the camera and maybe feigning confidence, but at least having confidence in yourself, now you're taking that time to build connections. So whether there's one person in the room or, like you said, 80 people in the room, you are shouting out the buyers who you remember, or you're saying like, oh, you got that purse. This sweater is going to look great with that purse. Or somebody comes back and they had said something about their mom, their dog, their daughter. How's your mom? Did you just get back from taking the dog for a walk? So taking the time to build those connections is also going to build your little community, people who love you. Like Kristen in the chat said, like, I love Toni. I love being a part of her shows. So you build your own little community around you. And then with your consistency, so Toni has her Tuesday morning shows, that little community always knows when to find you. And even if they're not shopping, your community is going to be there to support you, which just builds that confidence even more. And it's a commitment. So live shows are a commitment with sourcing, with doing the shows, with packing. It's definitely a commitment to say you're going to do it and follow through and do all of those things. And I know you had a lot more C's probably, but, and then we talked a little bit before your giveaway. Don't compare yourself to others. We all had a day one, right? I had my live show, my 1 year anniversary last week. My very first show, I sold 2 things to 1 buyer. We all have a day one somewhere. So don't compare yourself to anyone. Just compare yourself to who you were before and take those itty bitty baby steps to go. This is months process, years process. And while it might feel tough to keep going, if you stop, you know you're never going to get any further. But if you keep going, even if it's baby steps, you're making that progress.
And you do, and it does. I mean, that's, I think if you just reflect on it and you're like, okay, what was different about this show than my last show? What can I do different? And if you build community and you collaborate, you're going to get these pointers from other people. So I think that's really important. And, you know, and getting into things that you can collaborate are really helpful as well. I will always go back to the connections. People who know you and get to know you will love your show and keep coming back. And it just grows. It just will grow.
I said something which I thought was a great point too, of like, whether you have 10 people in the room or 80 people in the room, to give them that really great experience. Because to be honest, even if you have 80 people in the room, probably 10 of those people are your shoppers. So if you have 10 people who are shopping, you're doing a good job.
When you finish, you're like, oh yeah. Or people that bundle, you're like, oh, I didn't realize they bought 8 things from me. Like reflect on that. Rather than your numbers. You do. I mean, I think it's natural to get caught up in how many likes you have and how many people are in your show. Of course you do that because you want to grow. And that is an instant feedback. That is instant feedback. But at the same time, no, it's okay. I mean, there are people who have, 15 to 30 people in their show and they are doing just fine and selling a lot. So I just think it's important that you remember to compare yourself to from the day before or the week before, and maybe do that. Maybe really track yourself from week to week and then reflect on it and reach out to these people that you connected with and say, I feel like I'm stuck, or what could be different. It's nice to have a group of people you can turn to do that.
And in addition to all of these things we've already talked about that have got you to where you are and made you a successful posher, essentially other things that make poshers successful are having good inventory at a good price, providing customer service, putting on a good show. That's why they're called posh shows, right? Yes, we're selling the beautiful clothes, but you're putting on a show, and making sure that you're getting those to the people who purchase them in a nicely packaged way, getting the item that they expected to get in a timely manner. And so rolling that back a little bit, Toni, you have the most beautiful inventory. I wish that you were my personal shopper. You come with these amazing hats, amazing graphic t-shirts, free people at the wazoo, Aviator Nation. So you clearly have an eye for what you know you like and what your buyers want. So tell us about your sourcing habits. Who, what, when, where, why,
Okay,
how.
I
Give us
will.
all
So
of your
I was thinking about
sourcing
that because that
goodness.
was one of your questions that you had told me before. And I thought, what do I bring to my shows? And I really do bring to my shows things that I love or would wear, or that I would like to wear if I were like a size 4. So I do that. So I think about those things, and I do really try to keep up on trends. And I think about comfort, and I think about yeah, just stylish, and it evolves. So when I started doing my Tuesday mornings, I always did new with tags. And then again, one of my old shoppers were like, you always killed it when you thrifted too. And she's like, and you love thrifting. I'm like, you're right, I'm going to bring thrifting back. And so I did have this show on a Tuesday. I'm like, I'm bringing thrifty back. And so like
Justin Timberlake went into my head as soon as you said it. I'm
actually
bringing
put
thrifting
Justin
back.
Timberlake in my photo with me, and I'm like, I'm bringing thrifty back. So now I do a little bit of a combo. But when I moved in Chicago, I had all these amazing places to thrift. And I actually have a wholesaler there that I go back. I call him my little guy. Those guys who people who know when I talk about Chicago, I always go, my little guy, my little guy. He finds me some things on wholesale, which I'm sure lots of people can find, but I try to really go through. But when I moved to Cincinnati, I had really had to look for different places to thrift. And I have, once you're in that community, I have really found really great places to thrift. Like yesterday, I went to a place and it was literally like I hit the mother load again. So sometimes I think it's just the timing and the place. I have to find my place. I ask around. And then also in Cincinnati, I mean, Chicago was amazing because the thrifting there is just, I mean, there's just so much. So when I go back there, I am able to thrift. But I'm here now, and we have a liquidation center here too. That's Gap, Banana Republic, Athleta, and Old Navy. So I go there often. And so I know now when the inventory is coming in, I kind of got this thing about Athleta. I was really selling a ton of Athleta, and I still do, but I have noticed it comes and goes and shifts. But there's a liquidation center here. I'm really purposeful and intentional about where I thrift, and I go on certain days, and I really do have sourcing days. I'm very committed. Where before maybe I would thrift and I'd be like, oh, I'm going to go this day. But now I really go when I know that the prices are going to be lower, or there's clearance, or I know they're bringing out fresh inventory. And then I really do try to pride myself on, if I get it for a really good price, then I want to, I mean, of course, we're trying to make money. And as I now I'm doing this more, of course, that's important. But I really still want to bring really good bargains, because I think that's part of the joy of the sale too, is that they're coming and they're like getting an Athleta bra for $10 when they're $50, in the store. So I have a lot of sources. Um, really, it's stores, liquidation centers, and if I get it for a really low price, then I can offer it to my shoppers for a really low price. So that's kind of how I do it. I love comfy. I love stylish. I love trends. I love athletic wear. I do love my graphic tees. And some of the brands right now that I love are like Aerie. I love Free People. I love Old Navy. I think sometimes it gets a bad rap, and I love Old Navy. It fits really well. So I kind of look for brands too, and I'm getting better at it in my thrift. I'm like, oh, and I kind of know what will sell and what won't sell, but there are some things I'm like, that's just too cute to pass up. Then I really think about my Tuesday themes and my train themes. So my Tuesday themes, I then I kind of buy for that. So like an upcoming theme that I'm going to have, I'm really starting to like collect all of that and put that together. And then a lot of times at the end of the month, I'll be like, it's time to move inventory, just like a store would do. And I'm like, I'm just going to do everything for $5, or I'm going to do everything 3 for 10. So I really think about my inventory, and I try to keep it moving, and I try to keep it fresh.
I always see you start things in your shows, some 5, some 6, some 8, like maybe a 12 or 14 here and there, but you really do a great job of offering a low start. And what I also really admire about you is I've never seen you turn a sourpuss on what something sold for. Every time a sale ends, whether it's sold for $5 or it's sold for $50, you're like, you're gonna love that. That's gonna look so cute on you. Great grab. Which I think is really important. We all wanna buy low, sell high. We all wanna make money. But the fact that you, again, keep your community coming back because you're creating a space that makes them feel welcome and makes them excited that they got a really great deal.
Thank you. I agree,
really admire
because if you're going to sell it for $3, be ready to let it go at $3, and it is what it is. If you sold it at $3, it could go for $3. I remember that was happening in one of the trains I was doing, and the girl who ran the trains, like, I loved your response. You're like, well, God love you. Merry Christmas. That was a deal for $3. I'm like, well, it was. Merry Christmas. You got a $3, probably $50 shirt because you were in my show, and you should get it for $3 if I start it for $3. Right? I agree with that. So, but I do love shopping, and I do have a bad shopping habit. So this has really helped. Me. And now Jenny and I were saying the other day, like, we rarely buy anything unless it's like we've thrifted it or we've bought it on Posh, or it's kind of scary, right? Like, you just get you can find everything you need.
It is very scary. And you gave away a Target gift card because Target's kind of like Posh, where you don't need to go to Target for anything, but you're always leaving Target with something. And so another part of building connection and community is that when your friends show up for you and you're showing great items and you're offering great prices, they're like, well, shoot. Again, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to me. I'm not going to let that go for $3. I'm just going to snag it. And what a great way to show support to other friends too, of like, I could go buy that from Athleta for $50, or I could just give you 20 and support you and enjoy it.
That's what you have. I think that is a good way to go into a show. If you're going to do a low show, just be ready to know that some of your things that maybe you paid more than $3 or $5 for could still go for that. But it's really about the exposure, and it goes back to the collaboration and the connections, because that's all gonna work itself out. I mean, you can't do it over and over and over again, but it does always work itself out. It really does. Because once they see your inventory and they're like, oh, she's got good stuff, and they'll come back, and then maybe your prices will be a little bit different, or they'll be in a bid war. We all live and learn, and I love the shows. I love meeting people. I love selling. Nothing more exciting than finding a really good deal at a thrift store too. I mean, you gotta love that, right?
I love your vulnerability there. Again, typically we see people on screen and we're putting on a show and putting our best foot forward. So to peel back that curtain a little bit to say, I'm still figuring it out. I'm still trying to see if I got to get to the post office or get pickup. They're still losing my packages. I still have things that I want to do that I'm not getting to. I really love that you're letting people know that even though my shows look very successful, I'm still figuring out a lot behind the scenes.
If you look at something and you think it looked great during the show, and then as I'm packing, I always do another one over, and you're like, oh crap, I didn't see this hole, or I didn't see this spot. And then that takes time too. You got to go back to your person. How are we going to deal with this? What are we going to do? Because I would never just let it fly. I mean, that's really important to me. Like, if you send something out and you didn't expose it in the show, you got to follow up. That's really just great customer service, and that's what I would want someone to do for me. So that can also be extra time to really make sure that you're doing that and following up with customers. So yeah, once you grow, there are other things that come into play for sure. Mm-hmm.
Another C is definitely customer service. I think that goes back to your community and building your connections, is that if you send someone, even if it's a little more pilling than you thought, or a light spot or a hole, you really want to be able to deliver that buyer experience where they were excited in the show, they spent money on it, they paid shipping for it, they were excited tracking it, they get it. And then, like you said, it's fun to find something great in the thrift store. You get that little hit of dopamine. They're excited something hit their doorstep and they open it and like, oh, exactly. Man.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been working on that too. So that's a whole nother thing. But it's good problems to have if you're making sales, but it's also something you can't let go, because you don't want to become the person who, like, oh, they sell me things that aren't accurate. And I have some shoppers who are really honest with me. It's been really helpful too. Like, this was like this, and I love that feedback. I think it's important to take feedback. I mean, not feedback from Be Kind 818 that says my closet that says my closet is sad. No, I'm just kidding. I will. That has inspired me, but I know you do, Jenny. I appreciate you. You know, I appreciate you. Um, Laura, that's just is in the conversation right now. She's been like a really dedicated shopper, and she gives me great feedback. So I really do appreciate feedback. I don't want a ton of feedback. No, I'm just kidding. I do love feedback, and I do really take it seriously, though, is what I should say. I do really take it seriously.
Yeah, constructive criticism. I always say if you don't know, you can't grow. And so if I'm not aware that I'm doing something that you didn't like, I can't fix it. So absolutely open to feedback. Uh, but also, it's in Jenny's name, you got to be kind about it, right? And so that kind of goes both ways. As the receiver of something that didn't meet your expectations, being kind to the person that sold it to you and giving them an opportunity to make it right. And from the other end of being the seller who missed something, just being willing to say, no problem. I'm going to make you whole. Choose something from my closet. I'm going to give you free shipping. Go ahead and open a case. I'm going to refund you. I had a question pinned over here because I do want to kind of talk about like presence and being on camera. And a bit ago, I'm not sure if Misty's style closet is still here. She said, I do kind of have a hard time getting in front of the camera because I had, some negative experiences previously of like people commenting on my looks. And you had said at the top of the podcast, loving yourself is also a huge part of what you're working on. And so perhaps you can talk a little bit about what that looks like in front of the camera, how you get that confidence and love yourself, but also like what else are you doing in your shows that you feel like are making them so successful?
I do think that's hard, being in front of the camera. And if you're not feeling, we all have moments where we're like, oh, that wasn't my best day, or I don't know, I didn't feel as good today as I did before. But I think, what is that? I don't know. That skier, Lindsey Vaughn, if you're, I'm into the Olympics, but she just quoted something from Brene Brown, but it's kind of like, you have to be the one in the ring that's failing and daring greatly. So you got to get back in there, and you got to, you got to get back up, and you're going to get the most out of that. So you do have days where you're like, I just wasn't myself, or that wasn't my best day. And yeah, and I think if you can connect, whoever asked that question, connect with someone you really trust who's also a posher. Reach out to someone that you're feeling like, oh, I hear what they're saying, and ask them for advice, and ask them to come to your show, and ask them to lift you up. I used to ask people to come to my shows and give me feedback, people who I know had been a success, and like, what do you think? What are your thoughts? And it just really built a network of people that lifted me up.
Yeah. And so I'll say, like, Toni didn't show up and say, today I love myself, everything is fixed, right? It's like you have to build it one Jenga block at a time. Sometimes you got to pull one out and put it on top. Sometimes it's a little wobbly, but just know, like, it's the same thing that you said with being consistent and moving forward. If you just kind of stay still, you're not moving forward. As long as you're taking those baby steps to work on yourself, you will gain that confidence. And then 1% better every day, you look back, you're 365% better, you've come full circle. But then other than that, feel free to comment. I love watching your shows. You're one of the shows I can leave on and just have it in the background. There's some shows where I'm like, I have to turn this off. I can't, like, it's uncomfortable to be there. But yours I can leave on. I laugh with you. I feel like we're hanging out. I just love being in your shows. So yeah, I'm not sure if you're cognizant of anything, or
I feel
there's
like
things that you would share. Like,
I've said this to them, and those people who are my regular Tuesdays are people who are new to my Tuesdays. And I don't have the same people. There's been a few times where I've lost people that have been there. And I really do. I'm like, oh, I wonder why they're not coming back. And I've reached out to them because I want to hear, but sometimes, I'm just like, they maybe they didn't feel comfortable saying it. But for the most part, I do have these core people that come. And I do feel like that. That's funny that you said that. I feel like, I always say it's like my Tuesday morning. I feel like it's like my Tuesday morning brunch or my party. Like coming into my house for brunch and the door opens and I'm like, come on in. We're having fun in here. And so when anybody comes on, I know some people are like, I don't like to be said hello to, but I probably am going to say hello if I see your name pop up, because it would be like walking in my door. I wouldn't let you walk into my house and not say hello. But that's how I feel, especially on my Tuesday mornings. I try to do that in my trains as well. But for sure on my shows, I try to think about it as like we're all together at this really fun party, or we're all together at this really fun show, and we're just having fun. And it starts to feel like that. And it's fun. I talk about myself a little bit. I allow myself to be vulnerable, and then other people do too. And you start to learn things about other people. And I think it just makes it a little more like it's not a show or a business. It feels like it's more like, hey, we're having brunch together, or we're hanging out together. I always say that at the end. I really truly look forward to my Tuesday morning group. I love therapy too. I've always loved therapy, but it's kind of like a little bit of my therapy group. Um, so I think I don't know what if there's a secret sauce, but everyone has a secret sauce. You really do. That's what the back of my shirt says. You have the secret sauce. So you just have to find what your secret sauce is. And you don't need to be anybody else. That's where I say comparison can be your thief of joy. You just need to be yourself and what's important to you, and it'll come through in your show. It's always quality over quantity. You only need those few real people. That's true, Jenny. But that's how I feel. Like, I don't know what the secret sauce is. I just know that you got to find it, and everyone has it. It's in there. Everyone has it, and you do need to lean into people though. If you think you can do it alone, it's hard.
Having support is definitely helpful. And it was so nice that you had the Cindy Brady there to support you from the beginning. And I agree that, in the shows, twofold. When you have that consistent show, it's like, back in the day when shows were actually on TV, you look forward to watching Friends. You would wait for them to come on. And I feel like that's so true when you find a posher you love, when their shows are. You can't wait for them to come on, and you're waiting to tune in, which speaks to consistency. And then from the seller end, me too. I know a lot of people are going to be there. I know when they're going to pop in. I know my 6 a.m. people. I know the people who got to go drop their kids off at 8:30 and then they're going to be right back. Like, it's fun for me too. I love that you said it's like opening the door and come on in, because I'm like, oh my gosh, hi.
So much fun. Like, come on in.
So
and when they're
fun.
not there, you actually miss them. I've even reached out to people before, I haven't seen you. And it's okay if they don't respond back, but often I'll get a respond back. Oh, I've been doing this, or I was on vacation, or sometimes too, like something's happened in their life. And then you've made this next level connection of like, oh, thanks for sharing that with me, But I think the biggest message is just keep at it. If you really want to do it, if it's not for you, it's not for you. But if you really think you have it, just keep at it, lean into people, and you will find what works for you, for sure.
That's why it's called the secret sauce, because if it was just written down, then we'd all be able to do it. But you got to add a little bit of this, take a little bit of that out. Sometimes you got to scrap the whole thing and start over. You got to mix and match until you find it, and you just know when you found it. You're like, I'm going to keep doing that. That's so much fun. And it's a really a real turning point.
So fun.
We've had a full hour, and so I want to be cognizant of time. I so appreciate your time. You really did leave us with a little mic drop moment there, as that your biggest advice is to just stick with it. If it's not for you, it's not for you. It doesn't have to be for you, but keep working at it until you find it. And an hour goes so fast. I just want to know if there's anything else you'd like to share, or quintessence, or a message that you have that we didn't kind of get
amazing.
to organically.
All I can say again is like, this platform and a forum to do this is so helpful. And everybody should tune into this, truly. People that are starting and people that have been doing it. And really find your support system. Again, if you want to do this, your support system will be so helpful, and you will grow, and you will look back and be like you said, I remember you said your first show, you had 2 sales, And Jenny and I, we laughed like fools. We had like 6 or 7 people, but by God, we sold like 3 things and we were so excited. So just keep at it. Being yourself. My shirt says being yourself is cool. Just be yourself. It'll come through. And just remember consistency and finding that confidence and collaborating and making connections are so key, I think, to successful shows.
And I think that's a huge testament to all of these comments coming in the chat is that we're not here to sell anything today, and still people are here to show up because they love you and they love to be in your presence. So it just speaks to you being such a kind friend, such a great seller, so generous with your time, generous with your knowledge, generous with your gifts. Toni gives the best giveaway. So if nothing else, go to Toni shows, get in that giveaway. She's going to say it 100 times. Get in the givey, get in the givey. And you're going to get something amazing.
I guess I can just leave by saying, Toni, my birthday, I can just leave by saying, I just appreciate everyone who like truly does. I think I wrote this on my Instagram today. Valentine week kind of makes me sentimental. And I did this little picture slideshow of Gus and I started thinking about it. There are so many people, it also reminded me, so many people who hold space for me and really remind me of, all the good in the world. I really do appreciate it. I really do need you. And I really do love you. And I really appreciate that. It's so important to hold space for people and to allow them to be vulnerable and to allow them to be successful. There is enough for all of us. We're going to wake up tomorrow and there's going to be more for all of us. So there's enough for all of us to be on Posh and have fun and have a good business. So just always remember that. I really appreciate you, Lisa. Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to get to know you, and I just look forward to doing more with you in the future as well.
In addition to being the best giveaway giver, Toni's also the best texter. She'll always tell you that you're brilliant and that that's a great idea, and she's so lucky to know you, and she loves to hang out with you, and she loves your text messages. She's like the very best texter as well. So if you can ever get a chance to message with Toni, if you're on one of her trains and she's sending conversation to you, you're going to feel like $1,000,000. But I think that is a part of that reciprocal relationship. When somebody is making you feel that good and when they are holding that space for you and giving you that energy, think about how you can reciprocate that, whether that's to the person that's giving it or to someone else in your life. Because it does take energy, right? We're emptying our bucket to fill into yours. And so how are you paying that back? But Toni's just all around a bundle of joy, a bundle of goodness, a bundle of kindness. And I also feel so lucky that we crossed paths. I do remember Jenny was purchasing in my shows, and then I started to see you come into my shows, and then I was invited on the Posh Bunch. And so I feel so grateful that we crossed paths. And now that I call you, consider you a real friend.
And that's how it works. And there you go.
And so, Toni, tell us where to find you. Tell us all the places, tell us a little bit about your trains. Tell us about your shows. Tell us about what's in the tray. Now that we love you and we want to come back, tell us all the places we can find you.
Just because I like to post that, because then if you know, I will post my live listing that says sold, but I like a Tuesday morning listing because then I know those are the people who know my Tuesday mornings. And I changed the theme. So you'll know ahead of time. So if you're like, oh, that doesn't really seem like something I need, then you'll know. So Tuesday mornings, 8 a.m. Eastern time. And I usually stay on for sure a couple hours. I've been on as many as 4 and 5 hours, but I usually keep it around 2 or 3. Then you guys know I started the Posh Bunch. The Posh Bunch will be again in March. This is still the February one. I need to get the March. I'm set. I just need to get the pictures in there, but we have another great cast coming. The Posh Bunch is a little harder to reach, have as many Poshers, because I really only have 7 and we each do 2 hours, and Jenny usually does it too. So it really allows us only to have 5 additional people, but that's okay. It's great. I always try to rotate it. And the next one is coming March 17th, and it's going to be called March Madness because we freaking love college basketball. It's going to be called March Madness. And then and then I did start the Posh Friends, and the Posh Friends has allowed me, and they really both are TV shows that I watch, but the Posh Friends allowed me to have more people. and everybody gets 90 minutes, and we have one on Tuesday, so you should come to that. And I name all the episodes like the Friends episode, the one where, and so this one is the one where we have a hippie soul and a boho spirit. And I found a lot of people who love to do boho and that hippie vibe. It's going to be great. Everybody has 90 minutes. And then we also do buyers giveaways in that one. We knock on the door. And yeah, Carla's in that one. We knock on the door and then we look in the peephole. And then you come in and buyers get, Teresa's in that one as well. It's going to be great. And then I also, Jenny and I started, Be Kind Truly is a friend outside of Posh. Jenny and I started Tea for Two. And we started it last Sunday. I mean, we just love to like joke and have fun. So that's a lot of it, but we also share some tea. So this week on February 22nd, we are going to do graphic teas, and we're going to just tell love stories. And they can be love stories like good, bad, friends, partners. It can be someone you dated a long, long time ago. It can be someone, it can be anything you want. We're just going to talk about love stories. And she's so fun. And we're kind of building that. We're kind of figuring that out, how we're doing that. But we just wanted to do a collaboration together. So those are the main things. And then of course I usually always do a train that I'm asked to be in if I can be available to do it. And there's lots of great trains out there, and I love being part of it. Like, of course, the Monday morning commute. I also, the collaboration with Graceful Knit and Lisa. We're doing one in April called Under Posh Friends. It's on Earth Day. That's going to be so fun. And so we'll have 12 people in that. It's going to be great. So I'm always looking for ways to collaborate, but my four main, I guess now is the tea, the Posh Friends, the Posh Bunch, and my Tuesday morning. But I've done a lot of the Monday morning commutes, which I love. I love doing that. I love being on Mondays.
Yeah.
And there's so many out there. There's so many good ones out there. So I think if you have an opportunity and your schedule is available and you get asked to be in a train, or they're inviting you to ask them, get in a train and then ask for support, or do the train and get more exposure with new people. So I believe in that. I believe that reaches a bigger audience. So I'm looking forward to seeing all of you either in the shows or in someone else's shows. I do love to chat in anybody's show. I chat a lot in people's shows. So I'll chat with you if I see you. And I'd love to see you in my shows or in any of the upcoming trains we have. So I appreciate you, Lisa. Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad we finally made it work.
I appreciate you taking the time, being generous with all of your knowledge, being generous with your time, being vulnerable, and really being willing to help me out on my new adventures and help out all the people with getting started and all your tips and tricks.